This is Susana Magenheimer, Random Artist 222. Today I'm doing a project for the Shawn Petite creative design team that I call Mixed Media Age Vintage Peeled Wallpaper. I have an extended version of the entire process video on my YouTube channel, Random Artist 222, all one word. So if you would like to see some additional techniques explained, as well as additional details of the techniques that I'm showing in this shortened video, then go check out my YouTube channel. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is show you some of the products that I pulled together. It's kind of my thought process as I do things. She just released a whole line of new wallpaper paper collage packs. So that inspired me for this project. I saw peeling wallpaper, and while Shawn also did a video of her effect of peeling wallpaper, mine's completely different, though the inspiration is these wallpapers. And here's some of them so you can see. This is one of them that I'm using. I'm also using from one of our other collage packs these moths and these butterflies. And I printed these out actually in black and white because I wanted to put them into the background. So I'll show you that when I get into it. But it's just a way that you can work with these collage packs. You don't have to work with the color that it prints out at. You can change it to black and white. You can change it, you can change the size. Like I picked up one of her, let's see here, her collage pack windows, and I shrunk it down to what I need for this project and then cut it out. So it doesn't mean that I'm using everything that you see today. It's just stuff that I pulled together to help inspire me to what I want to do. So I also pulled out Shawn Petite's pattern hearts. This one's relatively new. I thought about using this one. I also pulled out her gears. Though I'm not using it in this video, you might find an inspiration in this to use for your own take on a wallpaper type project. I'm using her whimsical font 1. I'm using clock scroll, and I'm using this one down here and these little numbers. Shawn Petite's Mediterranean Duo, which to me is a staple. You have to have this stencil. It's absolutely wonderful. And then, so those were the stencils. And let me put those aside. So then I went ahead and took just a piece of 9x12. Actually, this one's 9x12 piece of wood panel so that I could make the way I visualize this work. I also am using these paints. I'm using from Lucas the Naples Yellow. I'm using Mint. From Amsterdam, I'm using their Neutral Gray. Lucas Krill, I'm using the Turquoise. And from Lucas as well, I'm using the Terracotta. And I'm also using some gesso. And I like this brush, and I just brought it out so you could see it. It's a 2-inch brush. It's just a Langer nickel brush, and I use it for the gel medium to put this wallpaper onto my board, and it comes out nice and smooth when you can do a big swath of gel medium. So I went ahead and did that so I could proceed with the project quicker. I'm going to dip my water in here, my brush in the water. Hello. And I'm going to bring in some of this first. And I want to use painterly strokes, so I'm just doing this. And as you can see, it starts to let me do the wash nicely without saturating my paper right away, because the Liquitex is acting as a protective coating. All right, so here's the the mint and the Naples yellow mix that has now dried. And it's you can tell that the paper is even stronger because of that matte medium we put on there. And I prepared the terracotta from Lucas, the turquoise, and the neutral gray. There are different ways that you can do wash. You could put the water in the paint. You could have the out on the side here. I usually like to just play with it on the side, and then I'm trying to see with my original 2 how dark I want to bring this. Okay, and you want to make sure that this bottom layer is absolutely dry, because when you're pulling the color back through the stencil, you don't want to pull the color back, all of it. Okay, so I'm just using a painterly stroke again. Okay, so as you can see here, you can still see the pattern underneath. I didn't obliterate it too much. And when we start pulling the color back, you're going to see, hopefully, the magic. So I'm going to let this dry for a second. And then come back to it. Okay, so now I have my paper towel around my baby wipe so that it's damp and not mushy. And I'm going to start pulling back the color on this. So do you see that? So that's pulling that color back. How much of it you want pulled back is a personal choice. But you can see that the pattern's showing up really nice, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so that's all pulled back. Okay, so we went ahead and we, as you remember, created the reverse effect of taking off the lower layer of paint so that we could get these lighter areas popping through the terracotta. And then I went, as I said, and I think you can see it if I hold it like this. The gold leaf. Yeah, the gold that I put onto it to get that kind of, gold vintage kind of look that some of the wallpapers had back in the day. So this is ready to use now. And it might not look like much right now, but watch this. Oh, so this is that wallpaper as you're tearing off wallpaper that's underneath, that's gorgeous. And you're like, oh, this is the one I wanted to, where was this all my life? So in order to do this, what I do is, and I'll do it on the edge right here, is I want, when I tear my paper, I want it to have feathering. So what I mean by that is if I tear paper, and hopefully get this caught, if I tear paper like this, right, there's no feathering, that's a straight cut. But if I do it this way, and bring it this way, then I've just created a technique here, and I created this feathering effect, as you can see here, okay? And that's the effect I want, because as you're ripping wallpaper back, you want to have that effect of the separation between the actual material and the paper backing. So I went ahead last night and did just that. So I'm laying it out here so you can see what I've done. Here's that feathering effect. I'm using Liquitex matte medium, by the way. Okay. So with paper, when I'm gluing down paper, I like to do two things. I like to put the glue on the substrate that I'm working on. like so. And I like to put it on the back. It gives it a suction effect, and it gives it a stronger bond, at least in my opinion. So now I'm going to put it on here, line it up as best I can. If you overshoot the edge, you can always use some sandpaper and sand it back. And if you notice little places lifting up, you can just add some more. Okay, so that's the peeled wallpaper portion, and now comes more art. So I'm going to let this dry. I want this really set up before I go playing anymore. That's it, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so now this matte medium has dried, and I can go and proceed. The way you can tell too is it doesn't feel cold to the touch. It's nice and on the warm side, so you know that everything's sealed up. And because this is a mixed media piece, I'm gonna treat it as such. I could leave it like this, and it looks really good to me. Kind of like a peeled paint effect that I wanted, or peeled wallpaper effect. But it's also a mixed media piece to me. So I'm going to stand up so I can see this. And what I'm going to do is just knock back some color. It's really gentle. Just so that none of it's all in your face constantly. If I feel like I'm too far on one end, I can just knock it back a little bit like that. And I kind of like these little veiny effects. That's just happening as a matter of luck. Because I am going to antique this further, so all that will get knocked back even further. Okay, so that's good enough for me. I want to have a window in this area up here, and I want to have a clock down here. So I want to have, the tiles come in several sizes, so it's a matter of choice, but I'm going to go with the smaller ones, and I'm going to start it off the page a little bit, pull these back because I don't want to get them messed up. Okay, and then always start off, I like to start off the stencil so it doesn't goop. And I do not want perfect impressions. I just want the illusion of, the illusion of those tiles. So I'm going to pick up some more, and I think I want some right here. I think that's as far as I'm going to take it. Okay, so now we're going to age the piece. And if you watched any of my other videos on Random Artist 222, all one word, you've seen me do this numerous times where I take paint, like a fluid acrylic or even just a soft-bodied paint, usually raw umber, a dark brown, apply it, and then pull it back with a baby wipe. That's what I normally do. But today I'm going to try something different to age my piece. In all cases, before you age something, you make sure that you've applied enough matte medium so that you have a surface that's not going to pill or absorb the color. Otherwise, the technique's really hard because you're pulling back paint. And if it's already going into the paper, that's rough. So have a baby wipe handy, have a squirt bottle handy, because as long as the matte medium is still fresh, and fresh, but I mean dried completely, but you know, it's still within a few days of when you applied it, you're going to be able to take most of that off if you make a mistake. So I know I have a clock here, right? And I know I'm going to have words here, and I'm having a window here. So I'm probably not going to do much antiquing in this area. As a matter of fact, I love the piece as is, but I'm going to stand up for a minute. I want these to show a little bit more. So I'm going to try using De La Roni's sepia ink. So you want to make sure you shake it up. And have a brush handy. I'm putting a little water here. So I'm ready. And then I'm going to take this and put it right on there. Soaking my brush in this. And see, now I'm antiquing it. Don't want to have like painterly strokes because you'll see that. So push back a little bit with a baby wipe until you're happy with what you've got. Okay, so now the antiquing has, or aged effect has dried up, and I love how it's looking. And I like the contrasts between how the older wallpaper to the one that's being ripped off to even this. I'm going to grab my matte medium. Okay, so I know my 2 is going to be on the kitty corner on this, so it's basically trying to figure out, I'm going to write about here. And because I've had matte medium all on this board, it's not going to do anything to hurt the color or anything. And normally I would also put like a streak of it behind. That helps to increase the transparency. And I really try to burnish some of that matte medium into it. Because the more that deli paper sucks up the glue, the better you have for it to go into the background and disappear. Okay, so just because I now see that I have matte medium, you know, a little stain of it there, I'm just going to make sure that this is all looking the same. Using the light, look for any bubbles. And that's it. Now what I'm going to do off camera is put in my butterflies. So they're going to go in circles around the whole piece. So as you can see, I finished the project. I glued down the words, and as you can see close up, all that deli paper disappeared behind into the background. I went ahead and glued everything, including the butterflies, and then outlined them in soft charcoal pencil. And as you can see where I stained the background to have more of a lived-in look, that balanced out completely, as it didn't look like it would originally, but it ended up doing just what I wanted it to do. So if this inspired you, please remember to subscribe and like. Thanks so much. It really makes a difference. And have a great day.